and 100-year-old man takes his final breath, and the moment his heart stops, a white-bearded figure steps out of the shadows. By the flickering light of a single candle, he slices the body open, scoops out the internal organs, and begins documenting every nerve and vessel. He recorded findings across 13,000 pages in a mirrored script. To read it, you needed a lupaglass. Look closely. Smeared across the margins are rust-colored bloody fingerprints, left as the author alternated between touching rotting flesh and sketching anatomical diagrams rivaling modern MRIs. 60 years after the author's death, Italian artist Pompeo Leone bought a stack of these papers for cheap. He opened them and froze. Hidden among the medical sketches were blueprints for mechanical weapons, armored war machines designed 4 centuries before human flight was possible. This record represents the raw, unedited dump of a genius whose mind operated outside the boundaries of his century. By the 1900s, scholars built a massive academic consensus around these papers. They claimed Da Vinci was a mystic who intentionally used encryption to shield his discoveries from the Catholic Church. The scholars had a valid point. He was sketching incredibly accurate cross-sections of human embryos inside the womb. In 16th century Italy, publishing biological realities that contradicted biblical teachings was a quick way to get yourself killed. Other thinkers faced brutal consequences for far less. Giordano Bruno suggested the Earth wasn't the center of the universe, and authorities burned him alive at the stake. Galileo went to prison. The threat of execution hung over every scientific mind in Europe. But that popular theory ignores the primary catalyst for his secrecy. The real driver behind his isolation was the way his own community ruthlessly cast him out. Born in 1452 in the rural hills of Italy, he started life with every possible disadvantage. He was the illegitimate son of a peasant woman. Local society denied him an education, property rights, and a surname, branding him simply from Vinci. To make matters worse, he was left-handed, a trait the local religious authorities viewed as a mark of the devil. When your own community treats you like a ghost, you have a choice. You can disappear, or you can watch. Because the world refused to acknowledge him, Da Vinci decided to observe the world. He developed a ruthless, analytical mindset built entirely around pattern recognition. As a 12-year-old staring at a tree, he noticed something strange. He saw that the thickness of the main trunk perfectly equaled the combined thickness of all its branches. He had discovered a mathematical principle of conservation, a concept now known in physics as Leonardo's rule. He applied this logic outward. He realized this exact same mathematical ratio governed how human arteries distribute blood from the heart. The identical geometry dictates how a river splits into streams, or how a city's main roads filter traffic into smaller streets. Staring out at the mountains, he noticed how distant peaks shifted from green to blue-gray, their edges blurring the further away they were. He was observing optical scattering, creating the entirely new concept of atmospheric perspective. His observations reached far beyond the canvas. He was documenting the mathematical architecture that holds the physical world together, weaponizing his trauma into a relentless analytical method. The breaking point came in 1476. Someone dropped an anonymous tip in a wooden box outside the Florence Cathedral, accusing a 24-year-old Da Vinci of homosexuality. In that era, the punishment was brutal torture and a lengthy prison sentence. He narrowly escaped with his life, but his reputation was destroyed. Following the trial, he vanished into his own home for 4 years. People were dangerous, so he replaced them with paper. He poured his entire existence into his notebooks, building a parallel universe where his logic dictated the rules. He started paying grave robbers to smuggle fresh corpses into his workshop. He sawed through skulls and mapped the intricate compartments of the brain. He was attempting to map the physical mechanics of human emotions. He applied this same biological analysis to physical appearance. To Da Vinci, an attractive face wasn't a feeling, it was a geometric equation. He mapped out exact ratios between the forehead, the base of the nose, and the chin, proving that the human body operates as a living mathematical system. When his mentor asked him to paint a single angel on the side of a canvas, Da Vinci deployed his anatomical and mathematical research. The resulting figure possessed such an overwhelming psychological depth that his master reportedly threw down his brushes and swore to never paint again. Da Vinci's artistic supremacy was the direct byproduct of a desperate scientist trying to reverse engineer human emotion onto a two-dimensional plane. But total isolation warps the mind. The man who emerged from that workshop was a walking contradiction, split between deep compassion and cold detachment. On one hand, he was a staunch vegetarian who felt so much empathy for animals that he would buy caged birds in the market just to set them free. On the other hand, he spent years obsessively sketching mechanical weapons designed to butcher soldiers by the thousands. He continued observing the physical laws of the universe centuries before modern physics. By realizing how light degrades over distance, he invented sfumato, a painting technique where harsh lines dissolve into shadows. You can see this mastery in the gradient light around the eyes and mouth of the Mona Lisa. He documented the mechanics of light, biology, and gravity. Yet, as he lay on his deathbed, Da Vinci confessed to his peers that he felt his entire life was a massive failure. He had started hundreds of projects, abandoning most of them the second he analyzed the underlying puzzle. The very trauma that forced his mind to see the gears of the universe simultaneously robbed him of the ability to ever feel complete in the human world. These notebooks serve as a record of radical, uncompromising observation. They are a monument to a man who refused to accept the surface level of any object or idea. Da Vinci viewed science as a specific mode of perception, used to analyze everything from falling water to the human heartbeat. Throughout history, the people who uncover the universe's deepest truths are rarely the ones comfortable in the center of society. They are the outcasts, pushed to the margins, forced to look inward and ask questions no one else is asking. The decision to move beyond a passive glance and begin examining the specific mechanics of the world is a choice available to everyone. It is the discipline to stop looking at the